I want you to know that God's character has a pattern to it, but his behavior oftentimes shows up in ways that are different than you've ever seen before. What's the difference between El Elyon and every other God? El Elyon will suffer with you. None of the others are willing to do that. You start learning that the order of the kingdom of heaven is actually operates mainly through suffering and submission, not through power, dominance, and control. You're going to go through seasons of your life that are designed and destined by God to empty you out before he can fill you with anything new. You're going to have to go through pain without numbing yourself. Not so he can fix our situations, but so that our character will render our circumstances irrelevant. Where do we see the mind of God in one package? Jesus. Basic. With that said, we cannot actually understand the mind of God. In Isaiah 40, God is doing something that is actually patternistic to his personality. When we think of God, what do we think of from a personality standpoint? Kind, great. What? Jealous? Merciful? Some of you guys, I can't hear you. Good, G-O-O-D. What else? Slow to anger. All these personality traits sort of cause certain types of behavior, right? True? What does somebody who's slow to anger do? They wait. Patience, not a verb. What is a verb? If we convert patience into a verb, what is that? How would we say it? Okay, but these are traits. Traits turn into behaviors. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, what's the behavior? Merciful is a trait. What does the trait lead to from a behavior standpoint? Check this out. Okay. A trait is an adjective that describes something. So, Angel is funny. That is true, by the way. Funniest person in the world. But funny describes her. Someone who is funny, adjective, does what? Tells jokes. Okay. So if God is patient, what's the behavior, what's the verb of being patient? He forgives. There we go. He does not kill us all. That's a good verb. So when we get in deep, we have to think about it from a kind of a scientific first principles basis. If God is patient, what does that mean that God does? He waits. He listens. He's long-suffering. What does that mean? He'll wait a long time even when it hurts him. This is crazy. Like, he'll suffer with you. It's long-suffering. You're going through something difficult. What's the difference between El Elyon and every other God? El Elyon will suffer with you. None of the others are willing to do that. They're not interested. They just kind of want to get you where they want to get you. This is like a wheel that once you start turning on in your brain, you start thinking like, well, the fruits of the Spirit, we know God has that. But then if he is that trait, what is that behavior? And it changes how you relate with him. But in Isaiah 40, we see a behavior that God is quite popular for, which is taunting. He's straight up taunting. If you read this, he's like, you have all these idols. Let's see what they can do. It sounds like Elijah. Then you got Elijah who's like, hey, man, maybe he's asleep. Maybe, you should just like cut yourselves or something. And he's being aggressive. He's taunting. And God's taunting. But one of the things that he says that's a warning to us is, to whom will you compare me? So we have to be careful. I want to understand God, but I will never understand God because I don't want him to taunt me. Because he can be merciful. And he can always, at the same time, teach me a lesson that I just don't need to learn. So I'd rather just stay away from it. Like Job, taunting. Oh, bro, you're legit Job. Did you tame Leviathan? You got to think about Job's just lost everything. And God's like, come at me, man. Were you here? So we can guard our hearts a little bit as we go through. But that doesn't mean that we can't reverse engineer the pattern of God's character in this. Well, you'll see a lot of me saying today. I want you to know that God's character has a pattern to it. But his behavior oftentimes shows up in ways that are different than you've ever seen before. And this is what's interesting about the beginning of 2026. God's in an interesting mood right now. How many of you talk to him? He's in a weird mood. Can you feel it? You see, so it's not that he's in a weird mood and it's bad. He's just in a different mood. He's still God. He's still got the same traits. He's encompassing the beginning to the end and everything in between, and he loves you. He's obsessed with you. He'll literally sit in your suffering with you, but he's in a funny mood. He's about to change some things around. He's kind of raising the stakes, almost like he's at this place where he's asking the question, like, who can hold their breath longer, the devil or me? Let's see what's going to happen. And this is what happens with people when you get into threshold seasons and the timelines speed up. There's always a higher stakes that God will raise the game to. And it's not a higher stakes so that you can suffocate. He's not interested in you not making it through. It becomes at some point, for chosen people, it becomes such a risky proposition for any kingdom of darkness to go after you that they just kind of decide they'd rather breathe than let you go. Who can hold their breath longer? And so we have to be, I think it's an interesting time to teach this, because actually as I go through it, like God's personality is the same, yet we're seeing it in way different ways. He's sort of in a funny mood, which is good for you and it's good for me, because I don't want to repeat 2025 or 2024. And if you do, God bless you. May your days be fruitful and go away. So we can't understand God. Isaiah 40, who are we going to compare him to? But we can understand his consistent character. The mind of God, if we're going to define it for just a moment, the mind of God I would define as this unified, invisible order by which love, truth, justice, and mercy are eternally integrated and expressed through covenantal relationship rather than control. You'll get the recordings so you can write it down later. It's invisible. You can't see it, but you can see the effects of it. And what's the purpose of the mind of God? Ultimately, it comes down to an ordering of the fruit of the Spirit that can be permeated and multiplied through his creation, but never from a sense of control, but through submission. We're doing this training on the Beatitudes right now, the technology of the Beatitudes. And at first, when I started studying, I really didn't like them because I want power. And I want God to rip the devil out of the ground and beat him up in front of me. And that extends to my enemies sometimes. Like, I think you're demon possessed. God, crucify him. Now, maybe I'm the only one with flesh, so y'all are assemblies of God or something. But I started reading the Beatitudes and I started seeing God's character, and it was like, I don't agree with this. I don't know why. Why would Jesus be the firstborn heir of all creation? And he was literally the foundation of the world, and through him all things were made, and for him all things are made. But yet he's saying, the way that you actually ascend the hill of the Lord is when people persecute you because they misunderstood you, not because you were wrong, but because you were misread. How do you actually inherit the kingdom of God? Is when you are brokenhearted and when you are poor in spirit. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I disagree with that. But you start learning that the order of the kingdom of heaven is actually operates mainly through suffering and submission, not through power, dominance, and control. Nobody likes this. Do you like this, bro? Some of y'all are I know you're closer to God than I am, and so I'm looking to you for help. Like, do you ever like it? Cree, you're like real close to heaven. Do you like it? Okay, good. Then I don't feel as bad. But this is that you learn the system through the Beatitudes. So here's how the mind of God works. You're going to go through seasons of your life that are designed and destined by God to empty you out before he can fill you with anything new. You're going to have to go through pain without numbing yourself. This is how the mind of God works. It teaches you how to experience and join with Jesus in our suffering so that we can become more like him without vegging and numbing down. These are just the Beatitudes. You go through the whole list of the Beatitudes, and you realize that power is actually just a secondary, insignificant, almost blip on the radar as a byproduct of aligning with God's character. Is this too deep? So the worst thing we can do when we're studying a subject like the mind of God is accidentally allow our own cause and effect to muddy the waters of how we're learning it. And what I mean by that is we all have things that we want God to do for us, yes? This isn't going to help you. Get God to do those things for you. What it's going to help us do is it's going to help us last through the training program that God has put us into, align our attitudes, our thoughts, our beliefs, our identities with God, not so he can fix our situations, but so that our character will render our circumstances irrelevant. We don't care anymore. That doesn't mean we don't hang on to hope, because there are also promises that God has given us. And when God's given you a promise, you hang on to it and you outlast everything else that would try to change your mind. But these two things they kind of operate as dichotomies together, that then when you grow in the Lord, you can merge them together. Okay?
Hey, real quick, before we get back to it, a lot of you have asked, where's the rest of these videos? Why does this video end? I wanted this video to be longer. Okay, well, we're taking these from a private library of deep dive trainings. If you want to actually explore what that looks like and what this organization does, then you can go to novosnetwork.com/join Kairos, Kairos. Just read about it, and that's where you can go to the next level in terms of this content, this curriculum, and going deeper. Back to the show.
Proverbs 3:5. Great example of what I'm talking about, and then we'll get into the notes and we'll start cruising. You know what I mean by training programs, by the way? Pop quiz. What do I mean? This is good. Let's just talk. Yeah, maybe. But what do you mean by trials? Hard things. Okay. That could be a training program. It could be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That could be it. They could be great things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've never been through the training program of like get rich and fall away from God, become an apostate, you haven't lived. That's one of the worst ones. The enemy can't see the future because he can't access that. He can't get into it. But he can see this is a similar training program. The last person somebody went through this training program, their name was Gideon. So we gotta get this person to not survive. So they look at the kingdom of darkness looks at these building blocks of a person's life, and it goes, okay, last time we saw somebody hit this, and this, that training program, it was Moses. We can't afford a Moses on the earth right now. So let me get into this person's child, and let me try to undo things. And you require the Holy Spirit to understand some of this stuff. But that's what I mean by training programs. And I think a lot of us are in training programs, and we're asking God to get us out of the training programs. You need to stop. Because he'll eventually turn off the training program. Because he's like, okay, let's go. I'll turn off the training program, but I need to go find somebody different. This happens all throughout history. Think about this tapestry of all of these threads and connections for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And he's got a God, Elohim, the main one, has to accommodate for, this is so stupid, a human's free will thousands of years into the future. We got to think about it from first principles. Like God raised someone up. His name was whatever. Jacob. And then we have to follow Jacob around while he's being a little creeper, manipulating everyone. Like Joe, you got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob was not the prototype that we should lean on for how to make it through a training program. He was actually kind of a bad dude. But God understood the way that destiny is threaded through human history, and he made accommodations for it. But you never know how long his accommodations are going to last. How long is God going to wait for us to just get in with the training program? How do we examine this? Where do we look? I just want you guys, let's think. I'm in a really funny mood right now, but I promise I'll behave soon. I'm going to get on my notes, and Jake's going to be able to salvage this. None of this has, but I think it's important. How do we look? How do we look to see how much time we have? God's patient. Absolutely. How patient was he with Adam and Eve? How patient was he? How long did Adam and Eve get? Oops. Okay. Bad example. Let's go to a different one. How long did Moses get? Nope. Moses never made it to the promised land. Yep. Yep, you do. And you just go into another one. Yeah, or you disqualify completely. How long do we get, though? I'm going to rip this out of Christian culture right now. It's not your fault. It's because we've all been trained the wrong way because no one reads their Bible. So we don't know how long God's going to give us to get with the program unless we ask him. We have no idea. So we have spiritually fat, obese Christians in America. They don't do anything. They don't build anything. They complain. And they wish that they had a life that was easier. You know what the Psalms say about Psalms 4? Let's read it real fast. You guys cool with the ramble? Maybe it's literally this room. I don't know if... Russ, am I out of line, bro? It's the ranking pastor of the... Listen to Psalms 4. This has nothing to do with anything. Answer me when I call you, O God, who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. Now, if you change the translation of this and you look in like the HTSB or the Amplified, he says, you have freed me when I was hemmed in and relieved me when I was in distress. Study the Hebrew there, and he's talking about the last time I was hemmed in, you expanded me internally so that it did not feel like I couldn't handle it anymore. It's a stature. He's talking about stature here. Verse 2, O sons of men, how long will my glory and honor be turned into shame? How long will you, my enemies, love worthless, futile, vain things and seek deception and lies? What's he talking about here? A training program where he's being misunderstood, misread, and slandered, essentially, because David went through a lot of slandering. Verse 3, but know that the Lord has set me apart from myself and dealt wonderfully with the godly man. He's talking about himself. The Lord hears and responds when I call to him. It's not ego, I guess, if it's true. People are like, oh, Taylor Welch, he says he talks to God. I do. So it's not ego. And God loves you. Shut up. Verse 4, tremble with anger and fear and do not sin. Meditate in your heart upon your bed and be still. Offer righteous sacrifices. Trust confidently in the Lord. Verse 6, many are saying, oh, that we might see some good. Lift up the light of your face upon us, O Lord. Verse 7, and this is where it gets good. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvests of grain and new wine. In peace will I lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, will keep me safe. American Christians need to read this. You have given me greater joy than a big business account. You've given me greater joy than my reputation. You've given me greater joy than when my church grows because I prayed and fasted for it. You've given me greater joy than when I got my business sold and exited for 9 figures. This is the heart posture. And the reason that I feel like we got to talk about the training programs is because most of the training programs we go through, we're cursing them and asking to be delivered from them when God put you in it so that you can help many, many people. If Joseph didn't go to prison, everyone died. And so he literally goes at the end of his life and he's like, you meant it for evil, but God actually meant it for good so that I could save the lives of many people.